Hello there, good folks. Dr. Charlie here. Welcome to today and our Charlie Chats. Let's go ahead and take 3 deep breaths together, all the way into your belly, and we'll get started for the day. Breathe in and release. Breathe in and release. One more time. Breathe into the bottom of your belly. Fill it up like a balloon and release. When I was in the shower, this morning, I was thinking about, hey, what am I going to talk about for Charlie Chats? In previous seasons, I had a list. There was a list, and I would go down my list and do that. Not so much of late. There's been a lot happening in my world, and I haven't taken the time to sit and write a list of things that I would like to talk about. So what that means is when I get to my Charlie Chats for the day, I say, Spirit, what are we talking about today? And kind of what answers is what comes up. So in the shower this morning, I thought I was talking about something different. But that's not what Spirit said just a moment ago. Spirit said we're talking about things are not always as they appear and the need to release or relinquish control over that. I was telling a friend recently about a ceremony, a ritual that I had done some years ago at this point. The woman was a South African healer, and I had gotten a reading from her, and then she said we need to do a ceremony this weekend. So I did that. I prepared for that. When we met, I picked her up, and I was sort of chattering away, la 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 la. That's not usually the best space to go into in ritual ceremony. Usually there's a quieter, introspective tone to it. So she gently shushed me, essentially. And then we couldn't find the place. I had asked her if it was okay if I pulled out my electronic GPS, and she said no, getting lost is part of the process. It's part of the ceremony. So we eventually did find the place that we were looking for, but that it stuck with me about being lost is part of the ceremony, is part of the ritual, is part of the process, I would say. So understanding that things are not always as they appear. Sometimes when I want to move, Spirit says no, wait, stay. I'm in that space right now, which is why it's prevalent for me. And coming up, I also used to take students of varying ages of mine. I would take them on a walk outside when we could. And the assignment was to find something big, to find something small, to find something near, and to find something far. Now, what we learned essentially was that bigger things are made up of smaller things, and far things become near if we keep moving toward them, and vice versa. That near things become far if we keep moving away from them. Or if you take that as one continuous line, if we stay in that line, the near thing becomes far, the near thing becomes far. The far thing becomes near, becomes far again. And understanding the deeper evaluation that we don't have control over many things. And there are quite a few things that we do have control over if only we knew it. So that is all kind of in the pot of things are not always as they appear. Another example in real life, kind of in the real world, have you heard that saying, hurt people hurt people? When people are in pain of some sort or another, physical, emotional, mental anguish, psychological pain, when people are in pain, often those are the people we might deem as mean or grouchy or whatever else it is. And there's a much larger understanding that this other person is acting out of their emotional or psychological or physical pain. And maybe it's us. Maybe we're acting out of our emotional, physical, or psychological pain. And the pinch, the rub in the wrong way in that moment usually doesn't actually have anything to do with you. Sometimes it has to do with the hurt of the other person and unresolved. They've not been through it. They've not had to get to the other side of it. And that's important. That's important to have compassion for ourselves when we're snapping at something that usually maybe is not related to the thing that we actually feel some sort of way. We feel the emotion about. And having compassion for other people when they do the same. Can we find the space underneath? Can we find the story underneath? If you work with children, as I have for 20 some odd years at this point, a child coming into you kind of all over the place and maybe a little angsty or snappy, maybe rhetorical, maybe they retort a lot, that probably doesn't have anything to do with you. It probably has to do with so many things going on in their life behind the scenes. We're kind of masks. So it's the life behind the mask. If this were a play, it's the person acting in a certain way in certain situations rather than who the person actually is. So things not being what they appear, I find that it's actually true most of the time, where we can look around at the players and understand that there is a person behind that player. I once wrote a paper. My favorite paper in college was, what's the name of the book? Is it Black Faces, White Masks? Clearly I didn't quite know what I was talking about. I could have looked the book up. I think it's a Frantz Fanon book. And I wrote it as, so my paper was about the different layers, different people being kind of like a play, and this is the peanut gallery, and this is the protagonist, the antagonist. The protagonist and the antagonist were kind of the same person in that case. But understanding that when things are not as they appear, there's always a deeper story. There's always something else that could be gleaned from that if you change your perspective. If you change the angle from which you are looking, you may find the deeper thing. So children, I have a lot of experience with children, so I use that as examples. If you're a classroom teacher and a child who's normally kind of bubbly and bright is snapping at you and cussing at you and doing all sorts of things that are not okay, it's because they're not okay. And that's also true for adults. So many of us are not okay, and pretending like we are for the sake of whatever it is the sake of it in that moment. It may be the sake of not getting too close to coworkers. It may be the sake of not allowing our partner in if we have a partner. It may be the sake of protecting our children or our loved ones, because it might be your children, it might be your parents, it might be your parental figures. There's so much more to our own humanity. And I encourage you in the very worthwhile endeavor to begin to explore all of the pieces that you have worked hard not to explore up to this point in your life. That is not necessarily an easy or even a simple feat. It is a feat. It is a whole thing. It is worth it. It is worth it to know these other aspects of yourself, because you too are not all that you appear. For me personally, I'm a Capricorn. We can be very pragmatic and practical. That's my sun sign. My moon sign, however, is Pisces. So Pisces is a water sign, which means they are much more involved in their emotions than my external Capricorn may have you believing. Maybe not anymore, but certainly that used to be the case for me. I can use myself as an example, but I really encourage you to take a look at the aspects of yourself that you've not wanted to face all this time. We've had a lot of time at home. We've had a lot of time tapped into the collective unconscious, whether or not we want it to be. I know that my dreams have been very vivid, very strong, and often about things that don't seem to relate to me at all in the waking world. Yet again, things are not always as they appear. The dream world specifically, unless you are known for prophetic dreams, generally the dream world is metaphorical, and so it's attaching meaning and meaning making to the things that show up in your dreams. and maybe looking at them through the feeling state. How do you feel? There are so many different aspects of dream work that you can get into if that is your thing or you're interested, but really taking into the cells of your body that you are not all that you appear. And that's true in amazing ways. It's also true in kind of very hurtful ways as well. So I think that is a good stopping place for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are interested in perhaps exploring some of those things, you can check out my website and take a look at my offerings there, including a course called Practical Tools for Everyday Wellness. My website is drcharliebrown.com. Also on Facebook and Instagram at Dr. Charlie Brown. It is always my distinct honor and great pleasure to spend and share this time and space with you. Until we meet again, I am Dr. Charlie, and I want you to take great care.